As a matter of fact, I wrote 4 different garden books, all Canadian bestsellers. You can see me Monday through Friday on breakfast television, and as well a couple times a month, usually on Cityline. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram at Frank Vergini, or right here on Facebook, or if you're watching, let's say right now, on X, also known on Twitter and LinkedIn. My goal, my mission is to motivate you, to inspire you, and to help you to grow great gardens, both outdoors and indoors. Yeah, the plants inside your home are just like a garden. And the reason why, well, I think number one, it creates beautiful environments. Number two, it makes us feel healthier and happier. And number three, if you have a good landscape, it'll increase the property value of your home. And let's say number four, you can even eat better if you grow food indoors as well. It'll purify the air, add some humidity to your home, make you happier. And really, that's why garden's good for the soul overall. We got Marianne already saying hello from Beaton. Going to give her a shout out there as well. Let's give a little quick shout out to Marianne that's there. This is how it works. My good friend Matthew Amos is also joining us today. Happy seeing you doing well on the Halloween show on BT tomorrow. Hey, our Halloween show on breakfast television tomorrow, you're going to have to tune in. Okay, so just to update you, normally I would do these on Sundays, the occasional Saturday, and then on Thanksgiving, I tested it on a Monday. Given my schedule as well as my boys' schedule, because now that they're in the world of many different sports and keeping busy, it seems that Sundays all of a sudden are becoming busier and busier and busier with family obligations, as well as Saturdays. So I'm thinking Monday nights at 5 o'clock, a good way for us to connect. If you have any other suggested times during the week, let me know. Really, I just try to fit this in when we can, because it's really a pleasure to try to help you and to inspire you with your gardens that are out there. Now, as well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of maybe your backyard at this time. And in the backyard at this time, it's when leaves are falling. Now, I want you to know that if you had any leaves on your property, let's say from a maple tree that had powdery mildew or maybe even had black tar spot, those are diseased leaves. And even though some leaves can add benefit to our compost or even when raked into our garden, diseased leaves, like the one with black tar spot or those with powdery mildew, will leave fungal spores in areas that will just carry on more disease for next year. So those diseased leaves are the ones that you want to bag up and to put to the curb. You also, if your leaves are nice and clean, have the option when they're on your lawn to take a mulching lawnmower and mulching those leaves as you cut your lawn. Really key, though, is that after you cut your lawn, after you mulch the leaves, that you can still see the blades of grass. You don't want to put too much of that mulched up leaf base, but it's carbon, and if there's just a little, it can actually add nutrient to your lawn. Now, raking clean leaves in your perennial garden will create a little bit of insulation. You may want to put a little bit of soil on the top of them, just a little bit, so that the wind won't blow those leaves elsewhere back after you've done all those work. But really, getting leaves off the lawn, the reason why we want to get them totally off the lawn with their largest size and when they're not mulched, is they will compact over time. And as they compact, won't allow oxygen or even sunlight when the snow packs on top of them. And that's when you're going to have things like dead spots in your lawn, snow mold, and everything else that's out there as well. So we got a hello out there from Alliston as well. Hello, Marianne from Alliston. We also have Miriam. Miriam, good evening as well. Would you please tell me how I can take care of a Christmas cacti, which is about to bloom? It was in a dark place and there are quite a few buds. Should I bring it back in a normal lighted place? Should I fertilize it? So with the Christmas cacti, they really flower based on the shortness of days. So even if you have a current Christmas cacti, Miriam, you put yours in the dark, which actually made that Christmas cacti think that the days were shorter, which would then trigger in the buds. The way the buds are triggered as well is if there's a little bit of a cooler evening temperature. But even for those that have Christmas cacti at this current time, maybe that were outdoors, if you put them in a room just that gets natural light and natural darkness, by the time Christmas comes along in those short daylight hours, it'll bloom. But now Miriam's that are in bud, as soon as it's in bud, you can bring it back into a room that has light, daylight. You're even in there turning your lights on. You want to water it only when dry, and you do not want to fertilize. You're going to want to fertilize that Christmas cacti next season as we get into March, when the daylight hours get a little bit longer and the plant is actively growing. Most of our indoor plants at this time of the year are starting to get a little bit more into a rest period. As our plants outdoors are going into dormancy, so are our plants indoors based upon the lack of daylight hours. Yes, in terms of having a grow light or a light on, that can be some additional light. But during the months of October all the way to March, we only want to do occasional fertilizing of any plants and just really cut back on your water, because the daylights are shorter. They're not going to need as much water, but what they will need indoors is humidity. So adding a humidifier to your room is very, very important. That's out there. So I hope that helped you there. Jane Voss, good friend Jane Voss, how are you? What do you do with hydrangea bushes at this time of year? Thanks, Jane. So Jane, there's going to be a video that comes out on my Instagram. So I just want to share that, guys, that if you don't follow me on Instagram, maybe you have an Instagram page, but I just really want to show you what the Instagram looks like. And this is where we post. And really, I post a lot of the information as well on YouTube and as well on Facebook. But that's a little look at the Instagram. The last one that I did was a little bit of a expose on some of the different maples that I have in my backyard. The Culminer maples, which is a nice autumn blaze Culminer red maple. And you can see that wonderful reddish color that turns there. So back to hydrangeas. Back to hydrangeas this time of year. If your hydrangeas bloom on new wood, meaning that if they're an Annabella, let's say that they are a Limelights, PG, Incredible, Fire and Ice, Bobo, any of those variety, Little Limelights as well, they all bloom on new wood. So at this time of the year, I don't like to leave their flower heads up, because if we get wet snow, which we've already seen some wet snow in some areas, those big blooms are like snow catchers. They'll catch that snow, they'll catch that bloom and bend it over and snap. So what I like to do is to cut them back so they're only about 18 to 24 inches above the ground. That enough growth that's there that will catch the snow around them and will insulate them. Next spring, any additional buds that don't branch out, so if I don't see them bud out and I see some dead stems, I'll remove those stems. But if you're worried about 18 to 24 inches, as long as you cut them back half their size at this time, you'll be fine. However, if they are the endless summer, those ones that are generally blue or pink blooming that are largely from macrophylla hydrangeas, at this time of the year, you just want to really snip up the buds, and that's it. That's it. That's all. We got Carmina Lima saying, Happy Halloween to you too. Lacey saying a good evening as well. Good evening to you as well. Mary Stewart, I wonder if you're cousins to Martha Stewart. Hello from Collingwood. Chilly afternoon with slushy rain. Yes, indeed, it is slushy. So a couple things. We're going to have some cold nights. Maybe you haven't had frost in your area, because I know some areas of Toronto didn't have frost yet down to the Niagara region. If you're considering bringing your plants indoors, you can bring plants like oleander, bougainvillea, hibiscus. Even if you had some of your different majesty palms that are outdoors, you can be bringing them in. But before bringing them in, I recommend spraying with an insecticidal soap like Bug B Gone Max. That'll just make sure that anything like aphids that are sitting on those plants you're bringing them in without any insects or minimal insects that'll be on them. There's always the occasion that we can get some insects. A reminder as well, as plants come indoors and we have shorter daylight hours, this is the time we start to maybe develop some fungus gnats indoors. Cut back on your watering, really key. Yellow sticky traps, super important for fungus gnats. And even a little bit of a dusting of cinnamon powder on top of the soil can really help out as well. Question that we have about lawns again from Marianne. Does excess leaves cause thatch in the spring? Actually, it doesn't. So by using the mulching blade, that mulching blade pulverizes the leaves that are basically dried carbon. So the dried carbon, as it's sitting right around soil level and we're getting the frost and thaws of winter, it starts to break down and mix in with the thatch that's in your lawn. And with that, we'll actually then amend and almost improve the soil underneath. So it's actually a really nice way. Even if you just do a mulching lawnmower blade and you haven't put down your fall fertilizer, throwing down the fall lawn food, and once again, it's the Scott's Lawn fall lawn food that I put down, throwing that down after mulching the leaves will even further help to break down those leaves. Thatch is not a bad thing. Thatch is something that will maintain moisture underneath, keep roots cool, as long as it's under about 0.5 centimeter. If it's anything over 0.5 centimeter, then that's when there's a problem. Forgive me, 1/2 inch. So almost about 2 centimeters. Anything over 2 centimeters, that's when it can be a problem and you have to dethatch your lawn at that time. Scott McCarthy, Scotty, my former neighbor. Hope you're doing well. I know he did some gardening and some landscaping after he built a beautiful, beautiful home there as well. Does excess leaf cause thatch in the spring? I got that already. Ashley Brown, my friend up in Aurelia, got to still come see you about bicycles and things like that. They're from Crank and Sprocket. So that's where you want to check out. We're getting snow and cold water right now. Yay. My son, my youngest son, Matheson, is in the world of skiing and he can't wait for snow. He's so excited for snow, which makes winter a little bit better. The fall colors this year, I have to tell you, have been on fire. They have been so beautiful, so great, and they've been so really nice to see. And really, the longevity of them, they've held pretty good. They're still holding pretty good at this time as we're really moving into the month of November. Winter is our cleanser. So as though a lot of you may be like, oh, winter, cold temperatures in winter kill disease. They actually minimize the amount of insect populations that are out there. Winter is a benefit because it puts our plant material into dormancy. Snow load is a benefit because it insulates plants that are out there. Most of the plants that die in our garden are a result of stress during dry periods in the summer, then going into winter, and they do get a colder period with no snow load. The worst kind of winter weather we want is about -30, no snow load, a sunny day with winds. That's going to beat up plants. When we have nice snow load, we have cold temperatures, and really the plants have gone into winter where they've been watered well and they haven't been under stress. It's going to be perfect. Yes, indeed. We do, and we should cover some of our evergreens. If we have evergreens that have a northwest wind, let's say they have a prevailing wind from the northwest. Well, in the winter, you go outside, and when you go outside, your skin starts to feel dry. Well, your skin feels dry because moisture is being pulled from the skin. The same type of moisture loss happens with evergreens and broadleaf evergreens, especially if they're in full sun areas with a northwest wind. So that's where you want to build a burlap windscreen to really, number one, shelter them from the wind, but also that windscreen should also shade them from the sun. With broadleaf evergreens, things like your rhododendrons, some of your azaleas, and even your boxwoods, you can spray them with an anti-desiccant like wilt-proof that'll minimize the amount of moisture loss that's out there. So those are some things that we can do. Connie says, nice to see you. It's nice to be here. Yeah, it's good to be here, guys. Joanne giving us a shout out this evening as well from Lindsay, Ontario. Beautiful Lindsay, Ontario. Go out there and check out Gary's Garden Gallery as well. Mike at Gary's is a great guy. Want to give a shout out as well. This Thursday at 6 a.m. in the morning, Breakfast Television will be live at my family business, Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery in Barrie, Ontario. If you love Christmas, you will love the greenhouse at this time of year. I'm going to give you a Christmas preview. There will be some free prizes for people that arrive that morning, as well as we're going to have some different seminars and things that happen throughout the duration of the morning. If you want to also go on to bradfordgreenhouses.com, on the website, you'll see the Christmas soiree that we have coming up. It's an evening event that we have at Bradford, but we also have it at our Barrie stores. The Bradford one's November let me show you on the website here. The Bradford one is November the 10th. If I'm forgetting myself, I'll figure it out. There we go. Boom. Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery. Boom. There we go. So the events. So we go to the Christmas soiree. That's right here. You can see that our Christmas soiree, there we go, is the Barrie has it on a Tuesday, November the 7th, Barrie store for Wednesday, November the 8th, and Thursday, November the 9th. And then as well, the Bradford store has their Christmas soiree on November the 10th. This is an opportunity for you to come view Christmas, get a whole bunch of information, also be involved in some different seminars that we have, live seminars throughout the course of the evening. We also have some different little tasting sessions that are there from local businesses. And really, it's just a kickoff to the Christmas season. So if you love Christmas, you'll love that. As well, speaking about Christmas, the season's Christmas show is also coming up. I'm going to share my screen again here, guys. As you can see, I've been busy. The season's Christmas show, here we go. That's coming up on November the 10th to the 12th at the International Center. Combined with the season's Christmas show is the Fall Cottage Life Show. That is the Fall Cottage Life Show. And what we're going to do, I'm speaking at both the Cottage Life Show and I'm speaking as well at the Seasons Show. So what we're going to do today, because you guys join me tonight, is you're going to go and have some fun. You're going to have some fun because all I want you to do is go to frankieflowers.com. Go to frankieflowers.com and sign up for the newsletter. You're going to go down to the bottom of the screen. And at the bottom of the screen, you're going to sign up for the newsletter. By doing that, that'll enter you into a draw to win 1 pair of tickets. I have a total of 10 pair of tickets as well. If you've already signed up for the newsletter, which I know many of you have, if you share this garden Q&A right now on any of the platforms that you're on, or recommend for somebody to follow it, what'll happen is I'll try to see if that you've done that to the best of my knowledgeable ability. And then that'll also give you the entry into the draw. So what I'll do is I'll give 5 pairs of tickets to those that join up to the newsletter, but make sure you do. If you don't sign up, you can't enter. And then I'll do 5 pairs of tickets that will go over to those that share this evening as well. Carol Sweeney, is it too late to put grass seed on the lawn? I would say yes. We would maybe get some germination on some of the warmer days. We do still have some decent soil temperatures that are out there. But by putting it down, will you get optimal germination at this time of the year? No, you will not, because now that we're getting into cooler overnight temperatures down to -2, daytime highs on average this week about 8 to 7 degrees, just a little bit too cool for grass seed to germinate. If you have some leftover grass seed around, you want to throw it down, go ahead. Some of it will germinate, but if you want to hold off and wait till spring, that's the best. You can still sod your lawn. Sodding your lawn, no problem. You can sod your lawn all the way up to the snow flies, and you can still put on that fall lawn fertilizer if you haven't done so already. Diane, Hattawasaga Beach. Hello out there. Kimberly, where are you from? From Hanover. Beautiful. Good advice. Love you, Frankie. No, I love you, and more and more and more. Okay, so the other part too is I want to remind you that it's still a good time to be planting some of the fall bulbs. I was just recently at some home improvement stores, we'll call it that, and as well as at a couple of garden centers. That's what I do in my spare time. I'll pop into a garden center, pop in just to see what's going on, see what plants they have, things that are going on. All the fall bulbs right now, there are the spring blooming bulbs that you plant in spring. So tulips, daffodils, crocuses, they're all discounted right now. So they're all like 40% off. I've seen 50% off. It's still, actually, this is the best time to be planting them, just right around this week. Fantastic. So if you haven't planted any daffodils, you want to get a deal, get out there and do that. Reminder, with our lawns, we want to cut them so that when snow falls on them, they're not going to bend. Like if they're too long and the snow falls, it'll bend the blades over. So we want to cut them, and you want them on a setting of about a 3 at this time of the year on your lawnmower. So give your lawn that final cut that's out there. We've already talked about the ticket giveaway, and we've already talked about Barry, me being in Barry on Thursday morning. So once again, that's for breakfast television. We have Carol Webb saying hello from Carol Webb. Hello, Carol Webb. We have a question, I think, and or comment. Hello from Mississauga. Love your shows. Questions. How do I save my begonias for next year without bringing the whole pot in? I don't have a lot of room in my house, I'm afraid. So with overwintering, so it depends on the variety of begonia. So if they're a dragon wings begonia, they will not overwinter in your home well. If they're a fibrous begonia, they will not overwinter in your home well. If they're a Rieger begonia or a Rex begonia, you can overwinter those inside your home. So you can either remove, if it's a big pot and it was a hanging basket, there's probably a bunch of plants within there. And so you could remove one of those plants. Generally what we would do is take a cutting from those and then root the cutting. The only issue that we have is trying to root cuttings at this time of year. We don't have enough natural light inside our home. So you could try rooting a cutting, but I would suggest you get a grow light for doing that. And then that'll create some baby begonias that you could have for next year. I would love to know the type of begonia you have. So if you could take a picture of that begonia, bring it into the garage for tonight so it doesn't freeze, because begonias are 90% water and they get snapped by frost like that easy. So my email is frankie@frankieflowers.com, and you can send me a picture that's there. Tonya, sending me stars. You are a star. Okay. Matthew, we got to share Matthew's news. Matthew's always got to tell us news. I have some news for you, Frank. And I'm going to see Howie Mandel live this week at the Center and Square, the fan of Howie Mandel, and I will see how the show is. Thanks, Matthew. Howie Mandel, great guy. Canadian, of course. Canada's Got Talent judge as well. We got Tracy Barber saying happy Halloween to you as well. Is it too late to plant Rosa Sharon? No, go for it. Perfect time to be planting. I planted actually right until it was snowing on the ground. We still have nice warm soil temperatures. That Rosa Sharon's going itself into dormancy right now. As long as it's planted in, put a lot of soil. The only thing is, because it may not have time to root, is during the winter, if we don't get snow load, sometimes the frost will actually, you'll have a frost, it'll heave it, meaning that it'll actually pop it a little bit out of the ground. Just buy some extra bags of soil that you can have on standby, so that if it does pops off, then you can just pile those bags of soil around the base of it that's there. Ashley Brown, talking about caladiums. I brought in my caladium and it died. It's not in sun, but it gets light. It's not near heat or cold or glass, only water once a week, but didn't dry out. Any thoughts? So the caladium, they're not the easiest plant. for indoors. The biggest thing that happens when you're bringing a plant from outdoors to indoors is the adjustment of light. So and then the other issue too is that even though it could have been touched by frost before you brought it in, maybe a few cold nights that are out there. It's probably the light level adjustment it just couldn't handle. There is a chance, like some varieties of caladiums will actually die back, and because they actually are tuber and or bulb, they will die back and they'll resprout. So I don't know what variety of caladium you had. So Ashley, if you want to email, if you know the variety, or even email me a description of what it looked like, I can help you out there as well. Mary's saying, thank you, excellent. And then we got another question that's out here. Hi, Frankie, is it too late to plant garlic in the Ottawa area? No, not at all. Although Ottawa does get a little bit colder than what we are here in Southern Ontario, it's actually an excellent time to be planting the garlic. Type of varieties of garlic that you want to do is you want to get some of the garlic varieties that are a little bit hardier to your zone, some of the Russian varieties, some of the purple garlics. But indeed, a really good time to be planting garlic is the first week of November. Because really what we're doing is we're planting it just before that frost sets in, and we'll be harvesting it next year. We really want to plant it so it's in the soil and it almost just sprouts a little bit, but it sits dormant, but doesn't sprout too much that it gets the cold. So if we planted it a few weeks ago, we could already had sprouted. Still, it would probably do well, but not as well if you plant it at the really good time of the year that's out there. We got Ashley again. Thanks, Frankie. We're here anytime. Can't wait to see Matheson at Horseshoe. They were testing the blowers at St. Louis today as well. So stoked for ski and winter garden planning, of course. Yeah, the ski season happening. Friends at Horseshoe, that's where you'll see me skiing too. Horseshoe Valley, even Mount St. Louis, but mostly up at Horseshoe Valley. So I look forward to seeing you as well up there. Key is just get outside, man. Make the best of every season that's out there. We got a hello from London today as well from Susan Staples. Hi, Susan. We got another report of just a bit of snow in Brantford too. It's coming there. It's coming. Susan, who's saying used to love Christmas at Bradford Greenhouses in Barrie. It's so good. Anne has saying, hi, Frankie. We're getting snow in Penetang right now. Happy Halloween to you and your boys. Just a reminder, guys, snow is not a bad thing. Snow can be so good. The worst thing about snow is when you got to drive in it. Savatia is from Oakville saying hello to us today as well. We got good luck on everybody there. Dorothy, I planted 60 tulip bulbs just yesterday. I was planting daffodils yesterday as well. I donated a couple hundred daffodils to a school in Newmarket for one of their school gardens, because I'm always team daffodil. You'll know that because squirrels don't like daffodils because they're poisonous. Susan, how do I overwinter my dahlias? So dahlias, amazing plants, right? There's so many different varieties that are out there. I love the big ones, big blooms. They're beautiful. So they're a tuber, right? So what we want to do is as soon as they get a frost, which many areas already had a frost, what we'll do is we're going to lift them, and we're going to lift them out of the soil, and we're going to cut back all that growth right down to the root, to the tuber, just a little bit above, not cutting into the tuber itself. We're then going to allow that tuber, if in the garage or even outdoors, to allow the soil around that tuber to dry. Then if you could just take a paintbrush and try to brush off as much of the dirt around them as possible. Then what you'll do is you're going to put them in a shoebox or even in some sort of container where we can either put dry sawdust in or even a dry peat moss in. That's going to, or even dried, shredded up newspaper. That's going to draw out any additional moisture from the tuber while it's being stored. We don't want the tubers to touch themselves. We're going to put it inside our home in an area that's cool and dark. If you did have a cantina and or fruit cellar, that's one of the best places. I always like to dust them with a little bit of lime sulfur to reduce the amount of disease. Then what happens is in March, we're going to pull them from those containers. We're going to check them a few times that they haven't rotted during the winter season. Then in March, we're going to pull them out, and we're going to take those tubers and we're going to cut them into sections. And you can ask me again in March. You're going to cut them into small sections, and we're going to put them into 6 to 8 inch pots with potting soil in a brightly lit window, and we're going to start them indoors. And then that'll allow us to have some already pre-started ones that we can plant in the garden. You could hold off and just directly plant the tubers in the gardens. By planting them indoor first, you're going to get a jump start that's out there. We got Susan Rose. Love a last name like Rose. Good evening, haters. Haters better for junipers, wrapping, working rains, or burlap. Okay, For junipers, key with the juniper is if it's a pyramidal juniper, and I'm trying to interpret what you're saying here. If it's a pyramidal juniper and it's planted on the side of your home and snow can come off the top of your home, boom, and hit the juniper. And even you can do this with your pyramidal cedars, is you just want to take twine and tie them up so they're nice and tight and firm. With the cold weather, they'll firm up. If they're in a nice sheltered location, they won't need to have any burlap wrapped around them whatsoever. But the first thing I would do is twine them and then burlap them. So if they're pyramidals and they're on the side of the home, twine first, then burlap next. I usually like to use burlap because burlap will continue to shade. There is the open weaves or rain. That will just actually keep it nice and tight, but that's what the twine is doing. So I would do twine first, burlap next. Some people do the burlap and twine, so the twine on top of the burlap to hold the burlap in, but I like to twine first so it's nice and tight. We got another dilemma. A dilemma. What is the dilemma? Why do I have such a problem growing aloe plants in Western Ontario? So aloe and or aloe vera are related to the cactus family. So the type of soil that they need to be planted in is in a cacti soil. They need to have good drainage in the base of the pot because if they sit in water, they're going to rot. They're going to die. I tend to see them do better and have had best success when they're in a clay pot because a clay pot is porous, allowing it to breathe. Key reason why people kill the aloe vera is they're not in a bright enough room, but the main key is that they're just too wet. Watering those is like in the winter months from the month of October to March, you're only really watering it maybe once every other month. Then as you get into March all the way through to October, we can be watering it twice a month. But it depends, of course, on the pot size that's there. So generally, if I was to guess the reason why you're killing it, most times the reason why people kill an aloe vera is too much water. Cecilia. Hi, Frankie. Hi, Cecilia. Hope you're doing well. Betty. Hi, Frank. Can I cut branches on my magnolia tree? It's gotten very large for our patio. So the magnolia tree right now will have the blooms for next season on it. So the ideal time to be cutting that is after it blooms in spring. If you cut it now, and you can cut it now, you may be removing a lot of its flowers for next year. If you don't care, and you like the nice benefit of once it loses its leaves by pruning, it's a lot easier to work with, so you can cut and actually see the structure, but you will be removing some of next year's blooms. So yes, can you? Yeah, because it's going into dormancy, but my preferred time to cut it where you would enjoy all the blooms for next year is after it flowers in the spring. Susan, I think this might have been the overwintering wrapping. I just went through this one, okay, with the twine and then burlap. It's there. We have another question and or comment. I planted my garlic in early October. I see some is sprouting. Will it be any good next year? It'll be good, completely fine. So even if it's sprouting a little bit, that's ideal. The big key is hopefully we get some snow load. If we had really, 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 really cold temperatures, you could actually just take some little pots. Like let's say that you had some little pots left over from your plants. You just pop them over those little sprouts, put a little bit of a rock on top of them, and that can protect them just enough. Just until we get some more snow and then you can pull it off. But the snow is going to insulate them and they'll be fine. That's there as well. Question, will the Rosa Sharon, we're just talking about planting a Rosa Sharon. Will the Rosa Sharon be okay in a big cauldron metal pot over the winter in London? No. Anytime that it's going to be out of the garden in a container, you're reducing its chance of success by almost 60 to 70%. So ideally, I would rather you have it planted in the garden. It'll freeze more solid because it's up in a pot and there's less soil mass that's there in the ground. It has more insulation because of the amount of soil that's around it, and it's more protected. The root is more protected. Cheryl Lynn giving us a shout out in Gravenhurst. It's snowing in Gravenhurst. My son's going to be happy, guys. Thanks for the snow reports. Cheryl Lynn King, is your family doing the Christmas tree event in the berry store this year? We are doing, in terms of Christmas trees, we have Santa's pictures. So there's the Santa picture event that's happening up there. So if you're looking to get like the picture with the best Santa ever, I got to show you this. I got to show you. If you guys want the best picture, let's say that you have a grandchild and you want the best picture ever. So we're going to go share. And these are the photos with Santa. This is like Santa's the best. Like like, I don't know how we did it. Oh, I don't know why it's not going there for me. Because it's going to share the tab. So it's not allowing me to do that. But anyways, it's the best Santa. And we can see that the Santa photos right now the 2 dates I'm just seeing are sold out for those 2 dates. So I'm going to see about adding another date that could happen there as well, if we could do that. So yeah, just go to Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery for more information. Craig Warden, who I went to university with, still in the world of doing data and statistics out there. Great guy. Thanks for all the great advice. Craig, great to hear from you, buddy. Amazing to see what you've done and what you accomplished. I'm super proud of all my friends that I went to school with, from high school to university to elementary school. It's so good to have so many great friends that are out there as well. We got, what's better? Sorry, voice texting. Voice to text can get you in trouble sometimes. So be careful with voice to text that's out there. We're going to end off with Samantha Grace. Actually, we're going to go a little bit. Hello, my jade plant just came inside after thriving all summer outside. How do I continue such beautiful growth inside? So jade, just like we're talking about aloe vera, likes to be more on the dry side. Jade as well likes to be pot bound. You may get a few of the little leaves of the jade that will actually kind of drop just because it's adjusting light levels. Don't react by giving it more watering. Allow it just to dry in between watering. If you want to add some humidity, you can either mist it on occasion indoors. That would be really helpful for a jade. Or what you can do is you can set the pot of it on top. Like let's say that you have a plate, and on that plate, you actually put some small little stones. So the pot sits on the stones, put water in the tray. As that water will evaporate, it evaporates around the jade plant, and that can be really beneficial for adding some humidity around the jade. So those are a couple tips for you as well. It's the lemon blush fancy Caladium, a shade one. I'm going to have to look that one up, Ashley. So if you can send me that to me through email, I'm going to look it up and just to see which variety, which family that came from, because I'm not familiar with lemon jade that's there. Lynn Robinson. Lynn, I have an agapanthus. Agapanthus, cool. Tropical plant with that bluey flower, awesome, which did not bloom in the summer, but I have 3 beautiful blooms right now. I brought it in for the winter, but wondering why it did not bloom in the summer. So basically a bloom is based upon a trigger. So it's usually more spring to mid-season spring blooming. So it could have not a bloom just based upon different temperatures, and sometimes there's even heat delay. So what I mean by heat delay is there's an evening heat delay. So often when we have plants that actually normally bloom, but let's say that during their bloom period that we had hot days and hot nights, because there's not a rest period at night, that plant will not put a flower out because the flower takes a lot of energy. So in order to conserve energy, it won't put a bloom out. Probably it bloomed later season because then we were having some cooler nights but nice warm days. And with that, it gave it the rest period at night for it to put its buds on and then bloom. And that's probably the reason why. So it had a little bit of heat delay. So plants, they like to sleep too. So they do like a cooler night. And that's the reason why even in your home, good for your heat bill, but also good for your plants is if you have a thermostat that has the ability just to be a little bit cooler by a few degrees at night. Perfect for your plants, perfect for your heating bill, perfect for you. So, hey guys, we're at 33 minutes here. Usually I like to be on for half an hour. I'm going to go cook dinner, and then I got to run my son up to some training. So the fun continues. I just want you all to keep blooming. If you ever have any questions, please go to frankieflowers.com or email me, frankie@frankieflowers.com. Once again, I'll see you Thursday live up in Barrie. If you want to join me in Barrie, 6 a.m. for breakfast television at the Barrie Garden Gallery. And then also coming up, we have the fall Christmas, that is the Fall Cottage Life Show and the Seasons Christmas Show. That's happening at the International Center on the weekend of November the 10th. Hope you guys enjoyed this little session. I'll see you guys next Monday. Keep blooming all. Stay healthy, happy,